Oh boy, what's this? A new Pokemon game? Nah, didn't we just get one of these like 11 months ago? I'm sure it'll be fine.
Look how they massacred my boy.
When I heard this game was going to be open world, I was so excited. Finally, Pokemon is going to get a true open world adventure that'll build upon the last 20 years of design. It's going to be like Legends Arceus, but so much more. And on release day, I turned on my Switch and was met with this. But luckily, glitches in performance can be fixed. What surprised me more was the open world itself and its design. It felt lifeless and empty when compared to the previous titles, especially Legends Arceus and even other open world games. For starters, good open world design hinges on the player being able to explore to find cool shit to see and do. Otherwise, what's the point of the game being open world to begin with? Well, what is there to see, do, and find in the open world? And not the obvious like catch Pokemon, I mean no shit, genius. I mean, what does this expansive and vibrant open world really offer you that a linear one doesn't? This game being an open world means it's held up to a different standard of exploration, and sadly, it doesn't meet expectations. Let's look at an example to illustrate this. Let's go to the deserts in both Scarlet and Breath of the Wild and compare the exploration. What can we find excluding the story missions? In Breath of the Wild, there's an oasis with all sorts of people to talk to and things to buy, some ruins to the east that has a shrine hidden somewhere, a giant fish monster that you can fight, a fairy fountain inside an ancient skeleton, and a whole bunch of other shit. I mean, I'd be here for a lot longer if I talked about everything that can be found in the desert, so let's just go look at Scarlet's desert now. There's a town with some shops and a gym, there's Pokemon, items and TMs, some ruins, some Gimme Ghouls, and some raids. Well, what's on top of these giant mountain things? Same Pokemon that are down below, more items and TMs, and more Gimme Ghouls. I am actually still astonished that that is all there is. There is nothing else in this desert that makes it even worth exploring. But it's not just the desert area. This is the whole game. There is almost nothing of value to find in the open world. Let's go up that mountain. What do we find? Pokemon, items, Gimme Ghouls. What about that one? Same thing. How about that one? Same thing. Good rewards for exploring are almost non-existent. It's just useless items and TMs and Pokemon you haven't caught yet. Catching Pokemon is all well and good, but you'd think there would be more. Legends Arceus didn't really need more since catching Pokemon is so fun in that game that catching itself is reward enough. But sadly, Scarlet and Violet do away with Legends Arceus' awesome catching mechanics, so I would expect more out of its exploration. In Breath of the Wild, if you took the time to explore the Great Plateau's tallest point, you were rewarded with some warm clothing. The game rewarded you for playing and exploring the world. And no one asks you to come up here. You have to look up there and say, I want to reach the tallest point. And you're rewarded for doing so. In Scarlet and Violet? Oh, you took the time to come up here? Here's a Gimme Ghoul and a Pokemon you can find anywhere else. Go fuck yourself. And don't even get me started on these fucking Gimme Ghouls. There are seemingly thousands of them, but they offer very little to the player for finding them. Once you collect 1,000 of them, you are able to evolve one chest form Gimme Ghoul. Just one! And you only care about it if you are planning on using him on your team, for which I'd assume that most people won't, because who's gonna collect 1,000 of these just to evolve one fucking Pokemon? That's pure insanity. At least Korok seeds helped you for collecting only a few and adding extra slots to your inventory. And they were kind of fun to find and collect since most of the time they required you to do a small puzzle of some kind that took less than 30 seconds. Or some kind of challenge. Gimme Ghouls though? Oh, they're just standing there. Not even really hidden either, they're just small. Furthermore, a lot of the areas feel samey. Take this muddy area in the south, for example. There's the usual, some themed Pokemon like Paldean Wooper, items, and Gimme Ghouls. Same thing as everywhere else, and it's not even a big enough area to really get engrossed in or give a lot of detail. This place highlights how a lot of areas in Scarlet and Violet's open world lack a crucial feature: distinctiveness. And sure, a lot of areas look a hell of a lot different from each other, but is that really enough? Do they feel different? Everyone remembers the distinct feel of the Eterna Forest. Its haunted mansion, the music, and the lack of light from the tree cover. It was cool, mysterious, and mystifying. It set itself apart from the rest of Sinnoh with not only its Pokemon, but its atmosphere and feel. It's hard to feel compelled by an area like this muddy area when it sounds and feels the same as everywhere else. It may look drastically different, but it's not enough to truly make it special. Having this new look from everywhere else and mysterious and cool music made Eterna Forest really memorable. It gave it a distinct feeling that nowhere else had. This muddy area is only memorable to me because of how astonished and disappointed I was with it, that there is nothing of note here. Many areas in the game suffer from this lack of distinctiveness. Another example is that the giant quarry area in the Eastern Province and the Tag Tree Thicket share the same music. Tag Tree Thicket's music just adds some horns to it, but this is the same song at the end of the day, and it erases so much of what makes the Tag Tree Thicket's atmosphere unique. Imagine if Eterna Forest continued playing Route 205's theme when you entered it. It'd be fucking weird. Legends Arceus makes it clear to separate the normal Obsidian Fieldland sound and music from the Heartwood, and as a result, the Heartwood feels very unique. Anyway, another thing adding to this lack of value in the open world are the things to see and the sights to take in. Take the 10 Paldean sites, for example. These have got to be some of the laziest landmarks I've ever seen in my whole time playing video games. Look at this one, the Gracia Stones. They are literally just pointed rocks sticking out of the water. Or how about this one, the Leaking Tower of Paldea? It's just the same tower that we see all over Paldea, leaning inside a little pond. Look at this one, the Secluded Beach. Just a goddamn beach. No black sand or anything to make it even remotely interesting. Oh, now I know they're fucking with us. It's not even secluded. The Pokemon Center is right over there. And there's multiple other beaches in the world that are actually secluded and have no one on them. What were they thinking with these? The towns are kind of an exception to this, however. They look great and really stand out to me. Especially Alfornado with the old sprites from back in the day on the gym stadium. This shit blew my mind when I first saw it. It's so cool. I never thought I'd ever see those again. But I will say that as nice as the towns look, nowhere in the game looks like this town from Sword and Shield. Almost every town in Scarlet and Violet pale in comparison to this place. But they also suffer from a lack of depth since you can't enter most of the buildings. This really hurts exploration and kind of makes the towns boring. I really enjoyed going into all the buildings and talking to all the random people. It was fun for me. Gave the towns depth. The towns in this game feel kind of shallow without that. Anyways though, the open world would have benefited greatly from more things to find other than just Pokemon and items and fucking Gimme Ghouls. It's an open world game after all, there should be a shitload of cool things. Even something small like a cave painting or a shipwreck would have done a whole lot to make the world feel more alive and fun to explore. The best you got is the general scenery, which doesn't look very good most of the time, those god-awful 10 sites, or a bunch of ruins that feel copy and pasted. The ruins of Breath of the Wild really felt like the ruins of an ancient civilization. Much of the time they even had names on the map to tell you what they were. They had depth and environmental storytelling potential. Who lived here? What was this place? And what happened to it? These kind of questions are fun to ponder, and the game kind of gives you an answer to them. Take for example this giant wall with all the guardians all over it. Who lived here? Well, probably no one per se, but I bet soldiers were present. What was this place? It appears to be a defensive position when Ganon attacked 100 years ago. What happened? Potentially one of the last holdouts, given how many dead guardians there are, and given that the wall is still standing, they may have successfully defended the position. Now let's look at Scarlet and Violet. What was this place? No clue. Who lived here? No clue. What happened? No clue. See what I mean? Such a lack of environmental storytelling robs the world of depth and interest, and robs you, the player, of something cool to see. It's strange too, since Legends Arceus had good environmental storytelling moments at times. Not all the time, but it had its moments. Close to the end of the game, for example, we can find these ancient ruins with statues of Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina. The people who lived here before and built these temples seem to worship them as the Diamond and Pearl clan do now. But the statue of Giratina is destroyed. Why? Did they destroy it themselves to hide its existence? Or did it just crumble to ruins faster than the other two? This place got me thinking for a few minutes about the history of the Hisui region and the people who built the Temple of Sinnoh. Nothing like this even exists in Scarlet and Violet, and it's a damn shame. But besides the towns and the areas and the shitty Paldean sites, there's just not much out there in the open world. I mean, you and Nemona are seemingly the only people to live outside of a town. And look at the list of locations to visit in Paldea compared to the previous games. I mean, for fuck's sake, look at Sinnoh compared to Paldea. And sure, the areas of the provinces may be bigger than the routes, but a lot of the time they're empty and devoid of anything other than just Pokemon or random things like items and Gimme Ghouls. This lack of things to find just makes the world feel empty and lifeless. Legends Arceus added so much to the Pokemon formula and really redefined how we played Pokemon. I really thought that the future of Pokemon's gameplay was established by Legends Arceus. But obviously I was fucking wrong. Scarlet and Violet went as far to remove some of Legends Arceus' most important innovations, those being the side quest system and the new catching mechanics. Alright, for starters, side quests are really important because they give the player extra things to do and add depth and layers to the open world. It's no surprise that good open world games are filled with them. They make exploring fun, since for all you know, a new interesting quest is right around the corner. That boring muddy area we discussed earlier could have been the site of a quest to find a shiny Paldean Wooper or something. It's no surprise that Legends Arceus benefited greatly from their decision to add a full side quest system to the game. All sorts of villagers have favors to ask you, from catching them a Wurmple to have as a sidekick, to investigating a strangely colored Pokemon which turns out to be a shiny. It's fucking cool. Makes you feel like you're really a part of the world. And with a lack of side quests comes a lack of interesting side characters in the world as well. Take this flower lady from Breath of the Wild as a good example of what I mean. We don't interact with her much, but if you continue to stomp on her flowers in order to get to the shrine, she'll get madder and madder, and eventually have a silly little cutscene of her killing you or whatever she's doing here. There are a lot of side activities and side characters present at the Academy, however that's just one place in the game. Seeing as how the game is open world, we should expect side characters to be spread out and have a little bit more purpose in the world, not just stuck in one location. Anyway, I think the lack of side quests in the game is a huge missed opportunity. I mean, Legends Arceus had over 120 side quests. Breath of the Wild has over 70. Red Dead Redemption 2 has 26 with their own mini storylines. I mean, for fuck's sake, Scarlet and Violet have like 20 quests, including the story missions in total. Secondly, Scarlet and Violet removed, in my opinion, Legends Arceus' biggest innovation to the series in the last 20 years. That being the new catching mechanics. Legends' open world and new over-the-shoulder camera finally allowed catching Pokemon to be more interactive and fun. There were so many more options available to you on how to catch Pokemon. So long were the days of just encountering and chucking balls. You could finally aim at Pokemon individually and catch them right on the spot. Or sneak up on them and go for a crit back shot. Or blind them with mud and then catch them. Isn't that fucking weird? What kind of Pokemon would want to be your friend after you blind them with mud and then kidnap them? Anyway, it was awesome and satisfying, and it felt like a real innovation. Something Pokemon had needed for a long time. Legends' catching mechanics made exploring the open world so much better since the gameplay was so fresh, new, and rock solid. The game was just fucking fun. But Scarlet and Violet up and removed it, and instead went back to how things have always been, and you know what? The games are worse off because of it. Instead, they added shit like this quick battle feature that I don't even know why it exists. It's not supposed to make grinding easier since it gives less XP. But if not that, why is it a thing? I never even had a reason to use it. It's clear from the first games in the series that the Pokemon games value the feeling that you're on an adventure. In Ruby and Sapphire, you had to dive into the ocean and read fucking Braille in order to find the Reggies. This kind of exploration was fucking awesome. No one tells you to do these things, and it feels fucking epic to go explore and really be rewarded for your efforts. You know what really doesn't feel like an adventure though? Running around the map collecting 8 stakes just to go open one of 4 of the same looking doors in order to find a legendary. No cool cutscene to introduce them like in Let's Go, and they're not even just sitting there for you to admire like in the old games. Nope, just click door, black screen, and then the legendary pops out, and battle starts. I didn't feel like I was on an adventure when I did these things. I felt like I was doing a chore. I wasn't diving into the ocean to find ancient ruins. I was just checking items off a list. Legends Arceus had one of the coolest legendary quests I've seen in a long time with its Manaphy quest. You get the quest and Lavington explains the mystery of this ancient book, but he doesn't know its location. But since I watched some videos about BDSP before its release, I knew that Canalave City had new books added. And sure enough, when you load up BDSP, you can find and read the book you need to complete the quest to find Manaphy in Legends Arceus. It's fucking awesome and harkens back to a time before game devs assumed we were too stupid for quests like this. It also reminds me of how you have to look at the back of Metal Gear Solid 1's box in order to find Meryl's codec number. This kind of stuff takes the feeling of adventure and brings it to the real world, and that's something really special to me. I like the game, but overall I think it should have been and could have been better in a lot of ways. Anyway, thanks for sticking to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.
That's right. Good. No need for you to go just yet.